In your human design chart, we are going to be looking down at the solar plex, which is your emotional center. And 50% of you are going to be defined, meaning you have this colored in. 50% of you will be undefined, so it's going to be white within your human design chart. And it really does matter whether it is undefined white or whether it is colored in, it is defined, because this is the extent of our emotional awareness, our emotional energy. And half the world is designed in having this colored in to push out emotional energy, to have a natural wave pattern. And those all are in relationships to the gates that you're going to have circled, those numbers within this center that then speak to the different wave patterns that your emotional energy goes through. And in learning to reach your neutrality point, so not making a decision from a high, not making a decision from a low, but really finding your balance point, your neutrality point, that's going to help you to make decisions that are in correct alignment for yourself. So for anybody who is of emotional authority, and it's going to say that on your human design chart right at the very top, you do have to find the balancing point between your wave patterns. For the rest of you who have that center undefined, it's white, you are feeling other people's emotional energy at 200%. And it's really important to understand that emotional energy is communicated through our nervous system, which is why sometimes we use that expression of they're just getting on my nerves, or this is getting on my nerves. And it's becoming aware of how much this physical body actually communicates to whether you are in harmony or disharmony with your environment. And as the third awareness center in human design, we are so young in learning about the power of our emotions. So there's a lot of the world that's projecting emotions out onto others. And there's also a large portion of the world that is accepting those projections, even though they're not theirs to own. So we're all in a process of learning the balance of what we push out, what we take in, and whether you are defined or undefined, your human design chart came in the way that it was designed for you to move through the learning lessons that your soul chose within this lifetime. So there is no mistake that you are energetically designed with certain centers that are colored in, bringing you consistent definition, and other areas that are white, where you are really absorbing the collectiveness in order to learn and grow through yourself. So gate number 6, circled within that solar plex area. You may have this in your chart already. If you're watching this because this is your sun sign, your conscious personality, this is who you are. This is your life's work. If you have gate 6 in your chart, this is a big theme for you within your life. And if you're following us as part of the teachings of the Mandala Wheel, knowing that we go through each one of these gates, 1 through 64, our cellular DNA throughout the course of the year, then at this time, during the season of Virgo, we are all experiencing this as a collective. So conflict resolution is going to teach us that we have a natural tendency to open or close. So this is our heart, this is our auric field, opening or closing to intimacy. And as a collective and at an individual level as well, the macro and the micro, we carry a fear of revealing who we truly are. So we're here to learn to be authentic, and we are going to discover why we are afraid to be our authentic self. And we're also riding through a natural wave pattern in here of need and touch. And that is a tribal wave. So as a collective, we all have this need to be needed, and we have a need for physical touch, for intimacy, for relationships, for coming together. So it's going to teach us to find our center point, our balance between having these really high emotions on one hand and having a clear resolution on the other. So if you think of conflict resolution, there has to be a conflict in order for there to be a solution. So conflict resolution brings the two together when it has that clarity in order to rise up to a higher vantage point. It also has a very powerful emotional auric field. So the energy that we're pulsing from out here. And if you have that gate 6 within your design, you might notice that your emotions rule the environment you're in. And you could also be very unaware of the power of your emotions. So this could be a good place for you to start experimenting. Noticing how when you're in a good mood, others are feeling that energy. Notice how it changes the energy in the room, how it changes the energy around others. When you are not in a good mood, notice how that affects the environment. How do other people start to move and behave around you? And the more that we are aware of how this aura communicates to the world and how we as individuals are affected by the auric field within others, within ourselves. This unseen vibrational energy, the more we're going to be aware of the power of influence, and we're going to start to question, what is influencing me? Why is it influencing me? And what is this ultimately teaching? So that is the balance of that conflict resolution. There's going to be the ability in there to bring clarity to emotional energy. So you're going to feel a lot of emotions. You're going to be affected by a lot of emotions, but you also have the clarity to understand what this is teaching you. So it really does seek to meet other people halfway. It wants to resolve things creatively, equitably, and with that sense of justice. So think of that as having the scales, right? There's this side, there's that side, but there's also the balancing point. It's like being the arbitrator in the meeting where you're always trying to find, well, instead of one person wins and another person loses, how can we come together in that win-win? And that means also including yourself in that equation. I was going to say occasion, in that equation. So not seeing yourself as separate from finding the balance and a resolution for all that is around you. So this is offering us an opportunity for emotional growth. And it's really interesting, the more you kind of get into human design, the gene keys, astrology, the I Ching, all these different modalities that are so embedded in the teachings. The more you really get to know about you and your birth chart, and you just keep that open, curious mind, we're going to learn that everything has a relationship to the physical body, to the organs within your body, to the cells within your body. And in this case, gate number 6 regulates your pH levels. So your pH levels are in your blood. It is what indicates whether you are acidic in nature, alkaline in nature, and we want to be at a neutral point in there in order for the cells to thrive. So think of that in terms of when you are in balance, mind, body, harmony, then the spirit within you can rise up. The mind, body, spirit connection. When you are balancing your pH levels, your blood is able to support your cells for its maximum efficiencies, which means the nucleus, the light in each one of your cells, is able to shine. It's able to be at its fullest extent. So you have more energy, you have more vitality, you're able to problem solve, you're able to navigate the world around you, you are more receptive, you are working at your greatest potential. Now, every time there is a overindulgence in any area of your life, there's an imbalance. So that could be having too much emotion, too much stress, too much fear, too much overthinking, too much food, too much drink, too much of anything, or not enough excitement, not enough freedom, not enough motivation, right? There's so many ways that those imbalances at the human level can be created. So it really does require us to take that deep breath, the teachings of the I Ching, to come back in the self, to constantly check in with the self and see how you are doing. What are you needing in this moment? And one of the exercises I like to do is literally put a hand on my heart, take in a deep breath, and I'm asking my heart, what do you need? So that is twofold. The hand on the heart is physically connecting back to the human body. It is offering love to the physical body, this human that is housing your spirit. And it is breathing deeply into that heart so that I drop out of my mind and I come back into my higher guidance. And a lot of times when you're taking the moment to really ask yourself, you're going to get something very simple. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I need to stretch, I need to go for a walk, I need some motivation, right? You're going to hear a very simple answer. And it's not about rationalizing it, judging it, analyzing it. It's about respecting that in that moment, your truth is talking to you. And it is breathing into that truth to honor what is coming up. So conflict resolution teaches us how to balance our emotions and our mental field. So in terms of your aura, you have your physical body, you have your emotional aura, you have your mental aura, you have your soul, you have your higher mind, your higher emotions, you have the I am presence. So we have all these multiple layers to our auric field. So as we're learning to come out of just this physical, it feels like it's happening to me, but I'm feeling the world. So it feels personal, but it is intimate. It is not personal. The world is not out to get you. The macro is felt by the micro. What's in the micro is also in the macro. So we're learning about all these relationships. And when we learn to have healthy emotions and healthy mind, so clear feelings, then our environment is clear. Our relationships are clear. When we are unclear about our feelings, then there's trouble. So it really does take the responsibility back to the self to take in that deep breath, to invite in the element of air, to clear through the mind, to bring the emotions into that neutrality. So rising yourself up above the emotional energy. You can't find the solution if you're sitting in the problem. You got to rise up. You got to take a step back to look at the bigger picture. You got to be honest with your feelings in order to find resolution, in order to see the way ahead, to navigate the course. So this is a huge gate, a huge turning point for emotional maturity. It's also part of what is known as the channel of connecting. So again, check your human design chart. You may have this channel already. Channels are beautiful flows of energy. They provide consistent energy, again, really supporting a theme to what it is that you're here to learn in its teachings. And in this case, it connects the sacral energy, which is your life force energy. It's the energy to work. It's the energy to raise children. It's the energy to come together. It's also your health and your vitality. So when that sacral center is really operating efficiently, you're engaged in doing the things that are in alignment to your truth. You're going to have a sense of satisfaction. It might be hard to do it, but you're going to feel that this is correct for you. You're going to have the energy to sustain the roadblocks, the obstacles, the momentum. And it really is about honoring your gut instinct. But you can't honor the gut instinct, the sensations of the body, if you haven't first come into neutrality with your emotions. Our emotional energy has the power to override our rationale. It feeds our fears and it keeps us stuck in this loop, in the stories of our own creation. It adds a lot of the element of water into the earth, the physical. So think of Virgo as a earth sign. When you have too much emotional energy in that water, you're stuck in the mud. So it really does require that deep breath to dry up the murk in the mud, to rise up and clear out of your mind, your perception of reality, and ask the higher mind. So this is all about the channel of connecting. And again, it's very tribal in nature because as a species, we're learning to come together. So think of the cells in your body. If the cells all didn't communicate together, you wouldn't be healthy. So whenever there's an imbalance, there is a disease. Well, it's the same with humanity. When we're not working together, when we're not connecting, there is war, there is conflict, there is all sorts of things that are transpiring. So we're still learning about the power of this. There is a lot of very, very strong feelings, sensuality, desires that are coming out of this energy. And it is powered by that sacral center. And what is happening in that auric field that is really pulsing out that strong current is it's trying to draw other people in. It's trying to connect with others. So it's drawing all sorts of things towards itself in that magnetic connection. It's looking to form bonds with people, with projects. It's looking for that chemical spark, right? Just that feeling of, ooh, this feels right. So that is sexual energy. Sexual energy can be attracting the mate, which is the correct DNA match for you to bring in the offspring. It's also about bringing in the correct genetic match for a creative project, for working together, for having that chemistry where the energy can flow to its highest potential. So just because you're drawing in all of these things so that you can have a big smorgasbord to really choose what you want, you have to practice discernment. You're not just going to go sit at the buffet table and indulge in everything. It's too much. It's going to make you sick. You're going to resent even sitting at that table. But if you allow yourself to come to the buffet, to take a good look at everything, to smell everything, to breathe into the energy, to look through all the senses, the eyes, the ears, the taste, the smell, your auric field, the greatest sense that we have, our intuition, to tap in and ask your body, what do I need right now? And when you open your eyes again and notice that smorgasbord in front of you, you're going to be guided to the exact combination you need in order to maximize what your cells are requiring for its optimal health and vitality in that moment. We are conditioned to take more than we need. We're conditioned to say yes to things that we really want to say no to. And it's only when you become very, very self-aware that you accept that you are attracting all of these things towards you. But maturity will remind you to only accept those things that are for the highest and greatest good and to lovingly push back the rest. And that does take time and practice. So your life would have prepared you to really notice, well, who's the flies and who are the bees? Who is good at making this honey, your well-being, the elixir of your life, and who's not so healthy for you? And it's not about what they have done. They were your teachers. They were there to really empower you to get strong enough to self-actualize. Well, what am I connecting to? And is that in my highest good? So there's also a lot of strong sexual energy that's coming from this channel, which means you will be highly fertile by nature. And it is designed to literally spread out these seeds of intimacy through giving birth to any number of creative projects. So that could be in bringing children into the world. That could be in birthing so many different projects, initiative, ideas, right? Really bringing that into the workplace, into the home life. There's so many different ways that creativity comes into fruition. But you really do want to see that in terms of chemistry. We are not for everybody, but there are the perfect genetic matches that are for each and every one of us. So when we learn to not settle, but to be patient in waiting to accept what is of the highest good, not forcing something to work when it just doesn't work, and knowing when to release what we are naturally done with in order to take in something new. Those are all healthy ways of learning to come into balance with ourselves. And that does take time and a lot of self-awareness. It's also really interesting to know that if you have this channel in your design, your auric field, it's actually designed to penetrate the emotional aura of other people. And there's nothing that you have to do. It's your aura that just knows how to get into the other person. So you may notice that certain people like that intimacy, they like getting close to you, and other people tend to back away. And again, it's not personal, but if the child does not know this, the child might start seeing through its eyes and creating through its mind and feeding itself an emotional story that says, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm rejected. And we want to really move through the awareness of the child's inability to understand what it cannot see. And when it is not taught and guided by somebody who is experienced in emotional energy and experienced in the law of the auras, the unseen world, then there's a lot of deconditioning that needs to transpire in order to build up the confidence of that inner child so that it understands that it is designed to get into other people's emotional auras. It is designed to trigger a chemical reaction that brings forward their unresolved emotional issues. Now, think about that for a moment in terms of higher self. When you are designed to help bring forward someone's own emotional issues that is theirs to deal with, is that not an act of great love? Is that not like coming through and bringing things to the surface so that they can be looked at and they can be healed and they can be released for greater intimacy, for greater connection? The problems exist when that triggers somebody else's emotions, and in that reaction, it is spewed back out onto you, and you grab it and go, oh, what have I done? I better fix this. Instead of learning that there's nothing to fix, you've already done what you've been asked to do. You already were the catalyst of grace, of love in bringing that forward. And because we are so young in that emotionally, it's easy when we are triggered, when we feel uncomfortable, to look to the external world and go, oh, you take that. It takes time and patience and maturity to go, ooh, that just triggered me. Why did it trigger me? What is it teaching me? And we're learning to get there. So as we do the healing work within ourselves, the generations coming in are going to be taught by healed adults. Right now, we have a world full of wounded children posing as adults. So it is learning the art of giving yourself grace for doing your own inner work, moving through your own deconditioning, knowing there is nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with others. We're all doing the best we can to our capability. And from there, we learn, we grow, we become more connected as we are willing to shed away our layers, as we are willing to face our fear of intimacies, as we are willing to get to the core of our truth, to own our emotions, to own our feelings, and to use other people as our mere reflection. That's it. Not to try to fix or save anybody else. So it really does teach us the art of discernment, knowing what is healthy for you, what's not healthy for you, and knowing that if you claim responsibility for someone else's emotional upset, you're going to have to see that cycle through, that commitment through to the end. And that is a huge responsibility. So that is a powerful teaching moment. Do you want to take that on? Do you have the energy? Do you have the awareness of committing to that? Is it your mind that is trying to make the decision? Are you feeling an emotional pressure to do that? Or do you have the clarity from your gut, your intuitive nature that just knows, I'm invested in this relationship. I'm going to see this through to the end. I'm going to stick to this commitment. I'm going to let it go through its natural cycle. And your body will know. You will have that awareness, but first it is knowing the difference between, is this decision coming from my emotions? Is this decision coming from my mind? Or is this decision coming from the intelligence within my cells, within my body, which is often then referred to as my gut response? my inner knowing. I just have a feeling. I can't explain it, but I just have a sensation. I have a knowing within there. So when we move deeper now into gate number 6, human design branched into what was known as the gene keys. So it's literally taking the key to come now and open up the gate. Each one of those numbers on your human design chart, those are gates. So we're using the key to open up the gate of number 6, conflict resolution, and using the book of the gene keys by Richard Rudd. We're going to go through the teachings of the shadow of conflict, the dilemma of protection, the gift of diplomacy, and the sooty of peace. So it's moving from the low vibrating energy into a higher transmutation. That is inner alchemy work, and you are the only one who can do your own self-actualization, who can notice how the shadow energy shows up in you, the lower vibrations, who can move through the teachings of your own protection and how the inner child created that, to then move into the higher awareness of diplomacy, balance, looking at this side and that side, and ultimately coming into the higher aspects of our peace, our flowering, our emptying out in order to be filled, of no longer holding any conflict. And imagine if you no longer had any worry, if your nervous system was at peace, if your body was at peace, if your mind was at peace, imagine how that would feel. Well, that's the potential through gate number 6.